This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor is Community Matters, Inc. With nearly 20 years in the chamber industry and over 100 media awards presented to their chamber partners, Community Matters provides the R&R that every chamber needs, revenue and recognition. When it comes to publishing a chamber map, directory, or community guide, Community Matters has the trusted experience to help your chamber accomplish your goals. With different advertising sales models and publication styles, Community Matters will help you create a non-dues revenue machine. Let's hear from Becky Womble, President and CEO of the Bastrop Chamber, to hear about her experience using Community Matters.
I've been using Community Matters for probably 6 or 7 years now. And in a previous life, I sold commercial printing. So I can highly recommend Community Matters because it's a complete turnkey job for any busy chamber exec. Basically, you give them a membership list, and from there, they contact your members, and it's no high pressure sales or anything. And it really is a complete turnkey job from start to finish. And it's a wonderful, beautiful printed product whenever you're finished. And I'm very sold on Community Matters. And with a printing background, big endorsement for me.
To learn how Community Matters can support your chamber with your next publication, please visit communitymattersinc.com/podcast to request your free media kit and request a proposal to find out what kind of non-dues revenue you can generate. Our guest for this episode is Amy Cloud. Amy currently serves as the Executive Director for the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce Executives. In this role, Amy maintains the level of professional development services that KCCE makes available to the local chamber executives and key volunteers. She activates statewide business advocacy and grassroots networks of local chambers and member companies. She plans and executes their annual conference and several smaller educational events each year. Amy also oversees the KCCE communications, advises chamber executives, and supports other local chambers in a variety of different ways. Amy also previously served as executive director at the Jessamine County Chamber and at the Girard County Chamber. But Amy, I'm excited to have you with us today here on Chamber Chat Podcast. I'd love to give you an opportunity to say hello to all the chamber champions that are out there listening. And if you would, share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little better.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for inviting me on your show. This is wonderful. Like you mentioned before, I have been in the chamber industry. It's been about 17 years. Got my start on a fluke at a chamber in Middle Tennessee in beautiful McMinnville, Warren County, in Tennessee. So shout out to them. It makes me feel old to know I've been in this industry so long. But anyway, a little bit about me. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Kentucky. Go Cats, farm girl at heart. Got a farm with some sheep and cows and horses and my amazing border collies. Got a great partner in crime, my husband of almost 30 years, and 2 great kiddos. One's a freshman in college and one is a junior in college. So just a little bit about me. Chamber life is in my blood, and it's great to find a job that you're passionate about. I've been fortunate enough to not only work as a volunteer at a chamber, be a member of a chamber as a business owner, but also direct 3 chambers and now work at the state level. So this is definitely my passion and definitely my career.
Yeah. So you mentioned you came into it as a fluke. I love hearing the origin story of how people came into chamber world. If you don't mind sharing what that fluke was.
Well, sure. I got a great opportunity as a 20-something to join a large corporation in their marketing department. It moved me from my home state of Kentucky to Middle Tennessee. It was in, like I said, the marketing department. 6 months after I started, they had a corporate restructuring. So our facility closed and moved to Mexico, and the marketing department was reduced from 7 to 1, which was my boss. So I lost my job in a new city, in a new state, with my first home. My husband was first time out of state as well. And I answered an ad in the local weekly paper for a public relations marketing professional. And that ended up being the vice president of operations for the McMinnville-Warren County Chamber of Commerce. I didn't even know what a chamber was when I went to the interview. So it was a great experience, and I was hooked. I was hooked after that.
So you come from that perspective of not knowing what a chamber was, and now, being over communications, being able to help relay what that story is very helpful, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. It is. It is.
Love it. Love it. Well, tell us a little bit about the KCCE. Just give us an idea of kind of everything that you're involved with. I know I touched on a little bit of it with the bio, but there is a lot to it. So if you don't mind helping to set the stage for listeners, just to understand what your role is and what the organization is all about.
Absolutely. KCCE is a resource to local chambers. We offer professional development for the staff. We offer board training for their volunteer board members or their volunteer ambassador group or committee chairs, whatever that looks like. Strategic planning services, networking opportunities. We are a resource so they don't feel like they're alone. So many local chamber professionals feel like an island because no one else in the community does what they do. A Chamber of Commerce is the only organization in town that is solely dedicated to the prosperity of the business community. Other people have that as part of their plan, banks or community colleges or whatever that looks like. But the sole business of a chamber is the business community. And so I feel like we try to be that partner for them, that champion for them. They can call on me for advice. A lot of them just say, hey, this is what's going on. What would you do? As opposed to, hey, we're planning this new event and we don't want them to reinvent the wheel. So we gather up continually resources as people do new projects, new activities, new events. They rewrite their bylaws. They have new policies and procedure manuals. I mean, all that in the weeds kind of stuff. And we make sure that we don't allow other people to reinvent the wheel. There's no need for it. It's a joke around our industry that plagiarism is Latin for Chamber of Commerce. It's the highest form of compliment for one chamber to steal another chamber's idea. So we certainly encourage that. And we do a lot of R&D, which is rip off and duplicate. A great thing in Kentucky is I'm a full-time staff member at the state chamber. So that makes a great relationship between our local chambers and our state chamber. And that empowers them to be even bigger and better than ever.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that leads in well to what our topic for our conversation is today, about using your state chamber as a resource. So listeners across the country, as they listen to this, obviously will have their own state chambers. So you don't necessarily represent all of them, but hopefully this gives them ideas of how to utilize their state chamber and to see the great power that can be there as having that advocate and that resource to go to. So we will dive much deeper into this discussion as soon as I get back from this quick break. Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar. Partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a Small Business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Exciting news! Introducing Pipily by Chamber Nation, the innovative solution to manage and promote your community for unstoppable growth. Joining the Chamber of Commerce means one thing: commerce. Businesses want to thrive, and Piply is here to make that happen. With Piply, your members can experience remarkable benefits even if they can't attend events. It's a game changer for retention. Say goodbye to ordinary directories and embrace a transformative commerce management system. Unlock the true power of commerce management. Picture a centralized Piply dashboard combining top mobile technologies for subscriptions, event registration, community communications, and more. It's incredible. Don't miss out. Visit piply.com to learn more. That's PIPPILY.com. Schedule your demo at richardscalendar.com. It's affordable and delivers more. Piply by Chamber Nation. Your community's future starts now. All right, Amy, we're back. So as I mentioned before the break, today we're talking about utilizing your state chamber as a resource. So from your vantage point, you've been on both sides of the desk, so to speak, where you were, at the local chamber level, and now as a state chamber employee and KCCE. How do you see the value, or as a local chamber, what should they be looking to the state chamber and organizations like yours to support them?
Absolutely. And I'll speak coming from Kentucky. It's a little bit different in every state, the relationship that local chambers have with their state chamber, as well as their state association. Not all state associations are in-house with their state chamber, but that shouldn't keep anyone from building relationship with both. A great advantage with being connected with your state chamber is your grassroots advocacy. Your state chamber is probably one of the largest, if not the largest, lobbying efforts in your state at your state level of government. They know the players. They know the constitutional officers like your governor and your secretary of state. They have great relationships with the representatives and senators from across your state, not just yours at the local level. They understand what's good for business across the state because they get input from folks across the state. The state chamber membership has members just like a local one that vary from single owner businesses to the Fortune 500. So by having a relationship with your state chamber, you can get a lot of that information about bills and laws that are being passed or being defeated at the state level without a lot of legwork on your part. You can also encourage your community to have a voice and to be an advocate. That's why it's grassroots advocacy. It's from the root up. And the root is the local community. Having a voice, holding your elected officials accountable is what we all need to do as voters in our country. We need to exercise that right. And I believe chambers can do that without being a political entity. Local chambers don't need to be political entities supporting individual politicians, but they can certainly be a public policy entity where they educate the voter, let the voter know what's going on at the state capitol, at the national capitol, what's happening in government, what's good for business, what's happening that's good or bad for business, and how they can be proactive about it. I can't say it enough how engaged our local chambers are in Kentucky because of the relationship they have with the public affairs department at the state chamber through KCCE.
As far as the grassroots efforts part of it goes with the chamber, and by definition, I picture these topics, these pieces of legislation maybe that need to get a little more traction are coming from a lot of the local chambers up to the state chamber, and then maybe you help disseminate it to other local chambers. Is that how you kind of see that model typically working, or what's that flow of information look like?
Grassroots advocacy works both ways. We want to hear the pain points of our local communities, and we count on our local chambers to share that with us. That's grassroots, from the root up. We certainly want to hear things that we should focus on that would be beneficial to their business community. And we count on that relationship for that. Likewise, we also have information that we have researched, that we have heard about, that our councils at the state level have taken into account and helped with bill writing and supportive bills that our legislators come up with. and we know it's good for business community statewide. And so we share that to them downwards. And so it works both ways. We have lobbyists that actively during session are at the Capitol and are talking to the legislators and pushing this agenda for the state chamber. We have researchers that understand the bills. These bills can be 80 pages long, and nobody has time to sit around to understand that bill. But we have researchers that'll put it into 2 or 3 paragraphs that we get to share with our local chambers so they understand really what the bill means, who it's good for, who it's not good for, if it's something that they should be supporting or something that they should be against. We offer that to them. So it's almost like on their staff, they have researchers, and on their staff, they have lobbyists. We certainly don't encourage local chambers to be political, as in supporting a political candidate. The state chamber does that. We have a political action committee, but that's kind of what we do. We're a lobbying organization. Local chambers, we want them to be public policy, which is different than political, because public policy is educating your voter. And we all know what happens when you don't have educated voters. So the more we can educate the public, the better. And we utilize our local chambers for that. We encourage them to come to the Capitol. We host our local chambers all year long to come to the Capitol, to have meetings with our constitutional officers, to meet with their local legislators, senators and representatives. We help facilitate that. We want that conversation to be easy. We want them to hold their elected officials accountable. And a way to do that is just by keeping that relationship and that communication open. And the state chamber is very good at doing that for our local chambers.
Yeah. So you had mentioned about the wanting to hear about the community pain points. And I don't know, I just had this vision in my head of there's different ways that gets translated and that information gets to you. And is there a more effective way of sharing community pain points with your state chamber and state associations where it doesn't come off as whining or complaining about whatever's happening, but to be able to really go to you as an advocate and say, here's what we're seeing in our community? And does it ever come across that way where it's just whining and complaining?
Of course it does, and that's okay. But I mentioned before, relationships are the key to everything. If a local chamber has a good relationship with the state chamber, whether it's me or someone on our public affairs team, work with our foundation, whatever that is, I think that it can be an adult conversation with, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, this is what's happening. They can say to someone who is probably complaining to the local chamber about something, here's a friend that I have at the state chamber, give them a call. We readily hand out our emails and our cell phone numbers so that local chambers can be the convener. They don't have to be the communicator. They don't have to be the one with all the knowledge, but they can be the convener and say, hey, let me share this person with you. Let me share this list of priorities the state chamber has with you. Let me share with you what this bill looks like broken down. Let me ask them about this bill. I've not heard of this bill, local chambers, or I might even say that. Let's find out. So it gives them that next step to be that all-inclusive community organization that wants the businesses to grow. So it gives them that next step of saying, hey, we don't know the answer, but we know people who do. And what a great organization to have locally that you understand, you're friends with, you trust, you see every day, as opposed to someone at the state chamber or someone in the legislature that you don't know at all and would be afraid to ask the question to, or not even know how to ask the question to. Our local chambers are that information booth, and they can share with us, and then we can share stuff back with them.
Yeah, no, that is great. The relationships are so key, and being able to have that level of trust to where, yeah, it might seem like you're complaining, maybe, like you said, maybe to another local chamber, but they have those relationships and put you in touch with people that can help. And all in all, it's a very supportive effort. So,
and it makes us look good. It makes us look good. We can be superficial about stuff. If people are supporting the state chamber and supporting KCCE at communities, we have 120 counties in Kentucky, at every county across the state, then people then will recognize when we are talking, when the state chamber is talking, we know what we're talking about. They trust what we're saying because they've heard in detail what we're doing, because our local chambers have given the testimonial to that. They believe in us because who they believe in believes in us.
Yes.
So it's a whole relationship. Even if they don't know me, they understand that a local chamber professional believes in me and knows that I'm going to give them good information. So they trust me even if they don't know me, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It's that relationship. It's all about everybody understanding we're all on the same page. We're all after the same results. And we're at a higher level because it's not just local government you're dealing with when you're talking about advocacy, it's state and national government where you feel like as a local community, you have true representation.
Yes. So as a state, as a resource, state chambers for local chambers, advocacy and supporting those grassroots efforts is so vital. But I know that's just a percentage of what you guys do. So what are some of those other benefits that local chambers can turn to you for as support?
Absolutely. Yes, that is just a little bit, but it's important. That's why I wanted to make sure we talked about it. We do offer professional development opportunities. KCCE is a huge supporter of Institute of Organization Management. It's a national program that the U.S. Chamber puts on. We are a huge supporter of ACCE and the national convention that happens every year with them, as well as different programming throughout the year. So our association and our state chamber offers scholarship opportunities for these folks to be able to attend programs outside the state that only makes them a better version of themselves. So then the chamber is raised to a higher level. We offer networking opportunities for folks to get together and share. Like I mentioned earlier, you feel like you're on an island when you run a local chamber in a local community, but understanding there's people just like you in every community across our state that might have some of the same pain points or be champions for each other, that they want to share in the wins and they want to steal a great idea and they want to do regional partnership and they want to do stuff together and they can't wait to see each other and get caught back up again. And they utilize each other now for judging awards and for coming to different summits and different annual dinners. And you form that relationship with people that get you. People support you in a local community as a chamber director, but they don't get what you do. They don't sit behind that desk. Even your board members don't. But connecting with people who get you is rewarding. And it's a stress reliever because you know that you can pick up your phone. And if you can't talk to them, you can certainly talk to me. But you can say, oh my gosh, this is what happened with a board member today. How would you handle this member? What would you do if this event didn't work? Or what do you do when this event is overwhelmingly successful? How do you capitalize on it? You've got people across the state from every size community, from the tiniest to the biggest, that will talk to you and share with you and be your best friend and partner when you're trying to figure out next steps for your local chamber. Other than that, like I said, we have resources. I have a huge server at work full of information, whether it's bylaws or evaluations or how to do a golf tournament. Do you have a copy of mission statements? Whatever. You name it, we've got some sample from somewhere, and I collect those from all over the country. So people can form their own, but they have a sample of what someone else has done before them. Let's not reinvent the wheel. We don't have time for that. I do strategic planning for chambers. It's an additional fee, but it's a 4 to 5 hour strategic planning session that I offer our local chambers, as well as some board development training to help get their board on board, to help the volunteers understand what's expected of them. At the chamber, it's not a nonprofit, it's a not-for-profit. And what the difference means when you say that, what it is to be a 501c3 as opposed to a 501c6. There's the difference in those two things. Yeah. Understanding, what your mission is and how you support your paid staff. And if you're a volunteer chamber, how you step up as a board member. So there's resources like that people use constantly, and I love it. I want them to. People are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm calling you on Saturday afternoon. It's like, that's what I'm here for. I know most of their issues and most of their stuff comes up after work hours. Yeah. They deal with their day, and then they need to.
I can't believe you're calling me right now either. No, I'm just kidding.
So I mean, that's why I show everybody my phone. I'm like, I got my cell phone with me all the time. If I'm awake. Yeah. And not on vacation, because I don't answer my phone on vacation, I will answer you. Text me, call me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, just because I know what it's like. I've been there. I know what it's like to go, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? I've been a staff of one. I've had a staff around me as well. There's a lot of plates in the air, and you want just a group of people or someone to say, am I doing this right? Is this okay? And at the same time, I also constantly want to tell my chamber professionals, you are rock stars. I try to be a cheerleader for them because I know what it's like to not have cheerleaders, you know.
Right.
So there's a lot. That's just kind of it in a nutshell. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but
Oh, that's terrific. And all of it in the end is it's helping to raise the bar of the local chambers and making them better, be more successful, represent their business community in a much better way. And that's all, based on resources that you guys are able to offer to
absolutely.
chambers.
And we can brag a little bit. They award a National Chamber of the Year.
Yes.
ACCE does. And the last statistic I had was that Kentucky has the most applicants, the most finalists, and I think we still might have the most winners since it started in 2007. Little bitty old Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we want people to be proud. We want them to be proud of their chamber. We want them to utilize best practices, which you have to in order to apply for awards like that. We always have one or two people on the 40 under 40 list every year for executives in the chamber industry. We have at least two people enter IOM every year. So we have 8 to 10 people in the Institute program every year. We're just proud of our chamber professionals, and we try to do everything we can to make them better, because then it makes their chamber the best version of itself if their leadership is the best version of itself, if that makes sense.
Yep. Absolutely.
And they only make us look better. Yeah. They only make us look better when they are achieving at top-notch level. It makes us look good, and we count on them as a resource. The better they are, the better information we get.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'm glad you shared that tidbit there. As for chambers that are listening who are interested in taking their chamber up to the next level, you've offered a lot of great counsel, I'll say, a resource of using your state chamber. But what other maybe tip or action item might you have for listeners who are looking to elevate their chamber to the next level?
Oh, goodness. I keep saying this word, but build relationships. I don't care what other people say about an elected official in town or someone who runs a large company or a small business. You need to form your own relationship with them and make it work. You need to be proactive and say, what's going to work for you? What do we need to do for you? You're a service organization. So make sure you're servicing your members. They invest in you. I encourage chambers to not say you have dues, but you have investments. What is your annual investment? Because when people talk investments, then they also talk about return. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to give a return on your investment, an ROI to your members every year. And that's a relationship. That's an asking, a listening, a what can we do for you? Let's try it. We tried it. It didn't work. We tried it. It did work. That's a relationship. Gen Y and Gen Z are go-getters. They just don't understand why they have to pay to be a part of an organization. That's your next group of leaders. Gen Y and Gen Z are the ones that are fixing to be CEOs in the next 5 to 10 years. So for me, I think chambers need to find a need and fill the need. What do they need, and how can you fill that need? Where do you offer expertise that isn't common knowledge that they would be willing to invest, the ROI, invest in their local chamber, where they wouldn't be able to get that opportunity anywhere else? How can they help entrepreneurs? How can they help small businesses in a way that no other group can, and that you can't do it by yourself? That's a big thing for me, is understanding that next generation of leaders and how the chamber can still be a relevant organization for that group of people.
Yeah, which that leads right into our next question. So you've seen and worked with chambers of all different sizes and focuses of work, we'll say. So as you look to the future of chambers, how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
There's room for chambers. I think the more that chambers become public policy chambers, that people will understand it's a well-rounded organization. Just as recent as 10 years ago, a lot of local chambers were considered the welcome wagon. They did the Christmas parade, and they took, welcome goodie baskets to a new business that might have done ribbon cuttings. it was kind of a hospitality group. And in the last 10 years or so, I think people have seen how it has changed into truly, what can we do to make our businesses better? How can we help with economic development? How can we help with public policy? What needs to change at the local level to make our business community more successful? How do we need to help recruit businesses? How do we need to help keep people, working with the school system, working with local government, working with transportation, housing? You're starting to see that local chambers are taking on more of that responsibility. But that's good because, like I said earlier, they're the only organization whose sole purpose is for the growth and prosperity of the business community. And that doesn't just mean economic development. That means you have to support employees and what kind of environment they live in. Is there good housing? Are there good schools? Are there good roads? So they've been able to expand their reach because they are being asked to handle those situations. I think that if they continue to focus more and more on that, then they will be growing into that business organization that people need them to be, as opposed to the hospitality organization that they are on the front end.
Yeah, I love that. And you said that, or kind of refined it down to that sole purpose of fostering that growth and prosperity in their community. And I know every chamber should have their mission statement, and hopefully that's embedded somewhere in their mission statement, and in one way or another. But Amy, I wanted to give you an opportunity for those listening, especially those in Kentucky that need to reach out and connect with you, but even others who are just curious about what all you guys offer, or
Sure.
tips, direction. What would be the best way for someone to reach out and connect with you?
Oh, goodness. You can reach me on my phone. Email's really good. My email address is acloud, like in the sky, ACLOUD at kychamber.com. You can find resources that we offer on the Kentucky Chamber website, kychamber.com. You'll see under local resources, there's a KCCE website. Reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with anybody about what I do, and I would love to learn what other people are doing as well. I'd like to be a student as much as a teacher, and pride myself on trying to learn something new every day. So if anybody wants to share some great ideas that Kentucky can be doing, I'm happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, let's get the information going both ways. I love that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being with us today on Chamber Chat Podcast. It's been a great conversation, provide a lot of insights, and hopefully maybe open the eyes to some local chambers about what resources they can tap into at their state chamber organizations. So thank you for sharing all that with us today, and hope you guys continue doing great things and making a huge impact in Kentucky.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.